What are those negotiations like with TV networks? They ever get intense?
That's a good question. Yeah, they get intense. Yeah. Shout out
Pay
to
me my money.
Yeah, facts. You know what I'm saying? Show me the money.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mark Lepselter. That's my guy. He's my agent. He represents me.
Mark reps me too.
Yeah, of course. It's home team. Home team. But
He's the best.
He is. He works his ass off. He does a good job. I've been approached by every major firm. Some have seen the talent in me and been talking to me for a few years. Others, they have been sniffing around and they see the money, so they want to get on board. I'm just loyal to the soil, so I have these open conversations with Mark. I'm like, CAA called me, WME called me today. I got invited to this place by that agency. So we have that open conversation. One, because we love to have that transparency. Two, a little bit, shout out to Mark, keeps him on his toes, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not going anywhere. But I will say they do get intense. But I've learned though, everybody you work for, especially if you understand how much they are making on the back end, see, that's key. Understand how much your company, the organization, the overall brand is making and where that money is being distributed. And then you can kind of cross-reference that with how you're doing your engagement, your rating, your Q rating, how people show up for you, how you do on social media. And then once you kind of create this equation, you'll be able to come up with a starting point of where you want to negotiate. And that's just the starting point. And you're never agreeing to where they start. Always stand firm and hold. I remember in the league, and I'm not sure if I shared this out loud before, but when I left the Seattle Seahawks, all right, so I finished my career with like 800 yards. I missed like the last 3 games because I had an ankle injury. They wanted me back, but they were just kind of hesitant. This was the transition between Holmgren and Mora and Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll came in, and I remember meeting him, and he's like, because I was still on the team at this point. He's like, "Oh, what's up, man? Yeah, nice to meet you." He kind of like sizes me up. He's like, "Yeah, you're bigger than I thought." And I'm like, all right, that wasn't like, wasn't like a confident interaction for me. Basically, he's like watching film of me and thinks I'm just a small dude.
Kind of condescending.
Yeah, exactly, a little bit, right? And then I meet the receivers coach, and he's like, "Yeah, man, good to see you, man. Yeah, I've been checking out some film, man. Yeah, man, it's just gonna be a good year. We gotta work on that 50-50 ball." I'm like, the first thing you do is like criticize the 50-50 ball? You're not gonna compliment me on all the big plays or touchdowns, the great things I do well. And like those 2 interactions, that gave me the idea that Seattle, at least this coaching staff, they weren't gonna do backflips to get me back. So I remember being at Daniel's restaurant. Scott Linehan flew in, who coached me with the Vikings, was now the offensive coordinator for the Lions. And he's like, we want you in Detroit. We got this young receiver, Calvin Johnson. He's a beast. He's the sweetest guy in the world. I think you coming in with your attitude, you guys are gonna mesh well. You'll be able to learn from him. He'll be able to learn a lot from you. I think you'll be able to bring some other elements out of his game. You'll be a great compliment to him. This is all like at midnight because, you can't really talk to teams at midnight. And my agent is there. So the whole idea was I'm going to negotiate with the Seattle Seahawks while talking to the office coordinator for the Lions, who's at the table, while my agent is on the phone with both teams. So Scott's like, "What's up, man? Sign with us." Like, come on, forget about Seattle. Like, if they wanted to sign you, they would have signed you. It's midnight. You're already a free agent. And so I'm like, yeah, I know, I feel you, but like, So Seattle comes in, they're like, all right, $9 million for like 3 years. Then Detroit comes in, $10 million. And now the numbers are going up. Now, okay, 4 years for 12. And they're going up. And then at one point, the Seattle Seahawks, they stopped picking up the phone. And we were stuck at a certain point. I want to say it was like 4 for around 14 or something like that with 9 guaranteed. And so my agent's like, "Hey, come here, let me talk to you." So we go out to the patio of the restaurant. And he's like, "Look," shout out to Ken Sarnoff. He's like, "Look, man, Seattle's not picking up the phone. I'm like, what do you mean not picking up the phone? He's like, man, after we hit like 9 million guaranteed, like they're not picking up the phone. So the reality is like, I don't think they're gonna go any further. And to be honest, they might even pull back their offer because they think you're just too deep in with Detroit. I'm like, what's Detroit saying? He's like, they're stuck at the same number now. I'm like, well, is anybody from Seattle talking to the Detroit Lions? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, as far as negotiating, like, do these guys talk to each other? And he's like, nah, I don't think so. What are you getting at? I'm like, well, how about this? How about you call Detroit back and you tell them that Seattle still is on the phone and they just offered another $1 million.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know about that, man. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what does it hurt? Let's just use it as negotiation power.
Yeah.
So he was like,
It's all about leverage.
It's all about leverage.
Yeah.
So he calls Detroit back. He's like, yeah, Seattle's still on. They're still on the phone. They still want Nate.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? Because we're stuck. And Seattle and Detroit, they're like, all right, listen, we're going to add another $1 million to the guarantee. So we're going to guarantee him $10 million.
Yeah.
So we kind of bluffed our way to another $1
$1
million in the guarantee.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me because now even when I'm negotiating in TV, sometimes you gotta stand on business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if you know your value.
Yeah. And you always got to have someone else that wants you, right?
No doubt.
You got to have an option.
You got to have
It's like
some
in the
leverage.
transfer portal with players. You're always more valuable when you got other people coming after you.
When you have somebody waiting for you on the other side of the portal. And shout out to CBS. Listen, I don't ever want to go anywhere. I don't want to leave Paramount, CBS. Nickelodeon has been great to me. We've also birthed some things that are completely original to those 3 brands and those 3 networks. But at the same time, ESPN was knocking.
Yeah.
Disney was knocking. And CBS, they were like, stay home.
Yeah.
You don't need to go anywhere. And I'm not.